All right, welcome back, everyone. Today we're going deep.
Deep.
Yeah, into some pretty dense territory. We're tackling excerpts from
Oh boy.
Spare AO, the Logomachy of Zos.pdf.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever tried reading Zos,
Right.
you know it's not exactly light beach reading.
It's not.
It's
Oh.
this text is packed with all these really cryptic aphorisms
Mm-hmm.
about art, the self,
Yeah.
the whole human condition.
It's a lot.
So think of us as your guides here,
Okay.
helping you extract the core insights and those little aha moments
Yeah.
from this fascinating but challenging thinker.
He is definitely both.
Right off the bat,
Yeah.
Zos throws us this curveball
Right.
with this whole idea about our animal nature.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't just say we evolved from animals,
Right.
which we all know.
Yeah, of course.
He argues that we should get this,
Nope.
venerate our animal ancestry,
Oh, wow.
like really honor those primal instincts.
Yeah, it's almost like he's saying those urges, the ones we try to suppress,
Right.
they're not something to be ashamed of.
Right.
They're a source of power,
Yeah.
raw energy
Interesting.
that we need to
Okay.
understand and integrate,
Yeah.
not just try to erase.
So how do we actually do that?
Right.
He throws out this line, reversion is often the road to perversion.
Yeah,
Honestly, it's a bit unsettling.
a little bit.
What's he getting at there?
Well, I think he's warning us
Okay.
about neglecting
Yeah.
those primal parts of ourselves.
Okay.
He believes that if we don't find
Mm-hmm.
a healthy outlet
Right.
for those instincts,
Yeah.
they can become twisted.
Oh.
It's like a pressure cooker,
Okay.
building up steam.
So it's not about becoming a caveman again,
Right, exactly.
but about finding a way to
Yeah.
channel that energy
Like
into something
that's reductive.
productive.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Zoe seems to be saying that these urges, they're not going away.
Right.
We can't just pretend they don't exist.
Right.
The key is to find new purposes,
Mm-hmm.
new ways to express them that are in line with our evolved selves.
It's like you've got all this energy. You don't want it to just sit there and stagnate.
Right.
You got to find a way to use it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for Zos,
Yeah.
this integration is essential
Right.
for living an authentic
Yeah.
and creative life.
Now, this brings us to another head scratcher.
Right.
Zos's view of art.
Yes.
He doesn't just see it as pretty pictures
Right.
or a way to pass the time.
Nope.
He calls it
He does.
the coinage whereby we exchange emotional experience
What?
for creative life.
Okay.
That sounds more like economics than art.
Right.
Yeah.
Strange metaphor.
Yeah.
But I think what he's saying is
Okay.
art is a process of transformation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way of taking those raw,
Okay.
often unexpressed emotions
Yes.
that we all experience, the
Right.
joy, the grief, the confusion,
Mm-hmm.
and turning them into something tangible,
Yeah.
something that has its own life.
So we're taking this intangible currency of emotion,
Yes.
and through art, we're converting it into something concrete, something we
Good.
can share up
Exactly.
with.
And remember, Zos places a lot of emphasis on inspiration.
Okay.
He says, only the inspired mind is licensed to symbolize.
Wow.
So it's not just about technical skill, it's about that spark,
Right.
that connection
Yeah.
to something deeper
Mm.
that allows the artist to really channel those emotions
Okay.
and create something truly meaningful.
So it's not just about splashing paint on a canvas.
No.
There has to be this underlying emotional current driving the creation.
Right.
Okay.
And that emotional depth, that rawness
Yeah.
is what gives the artwork its power.
Now, this leads us to one of Zos's most intriguing and maybe even unsettling ideas.
He tackles the concept of self,
Right.
but he doesn't use any of the usual language. He calls the ego a weirder autism,
Oh, wow.
an inexistent reality of presence without residence.
Okay.
Those are some seriously loaded terms.
Yeah, they are.
What's he actually saying about who we are,
Right.
about this self?
Well, Zos is a master in paradox.
Yeah.
And I think what he's getting at here is this inherent tension
Okay.
within the self.
Okay.
On the one hand,
Yeah.
we have this deep-seated need to be self-sufficient,
Okay.
to define ourselves as individuals. But on the other hand,
Yeah.
we're utterly dependent on others for our survival,
Okay.
for our very sense of reality.
We're constantly trying to reconcile this need
Right.
for independence
Yeah.
with the reality that we're
Interconnected.
interconnected, part of a larger web.
Exactly.
We can't truly exist in isolation.
Right.
And Zos seems to suggest that this tension, this paradox,
isn't something to be like resolved
right,
or overcome.
right.
It's actually what makes us human.
Yes,
What gives our lives meaning and depth.
I think so.
He says, the greater the contrasts we encounter,
Yeah,
the greater our reality.
powerful.
So it's almost as if embracing those contradictions,
Right.
that friction between self and other, is what makes us who we are. So it's not about achieving some kind of perfectly balanced self.
Nope.
It's about leaning into the messiness, the contradiction.
With things that make us uncomfortable.
Right.
And maybe that's where the real growth happens.
It's like he's giving us permission to be fully human with all our flaws and contradictions.
That's a really profound idea.
Yeah.
It is.
Now, this whole idea of embracing complexity ties directly into Zos's view of truth.
Okay.
And buckle up, because this is where he really throws a wrench into our conventional thinking.
Here we go.
He states, a fact is a figment of a truism.
Okay.
Therefore, all facts are inconclusive.
Whoa.
Wait, is he saying there's no such thing as truth?
Well, that's where Zos gets tricky.
Okay.
He's not saying reality doesn't exist.
Right.
But rather, our perception of it is always filtered through our own individual lens, our experiences, our beliefs, even our desires.
Yeah.
They all shape how we see the world.
So what might be a fact for one person might not be for another.
Exactly.
So it's not about denying objective reality, but about acknowledging that our experience of it is always subjective. We're all essentially creating our own versions of truth based on our unique perspectives.
And here's where it gets even more interesting.
Right.
Zos says, whatever you assert of the gods is more true of yourself.
Wow.
Think about the implications of that.
So he's saying that the qualities we attribute to the divine, the things we worship or believe in, they're actually projections of our own internal worlds. We're creating these external figures that are essentially mirrors, reflecting back our own beliefs and desires.
That's a powerful insight.
Okay.
And it can be both empowering
Right.
and, as you said, a bit unsettling.
Yeah.
Because if the gods we create are reflections of ourselves, then we have a lot more responsibility for the kind of world we're building than we might realize.
Okay, so we've got this idea. We should honor our animal instincts.
Okay.
That art helps us transform raw emotion.
Yeah.
That the self is this paradox
Right.
of individuality and interconnectedness. And that truth is subjective.
Right.
Sos is definitely giving us a lot to chew on.
He is. He is just getting started.
Yeah, he is.
But before we move on to his even more radical ideas about the physical world and the importance of flesh,
Okay.
I want to pause
Yeah.
and ask, what's standing out to you so far?
Well, honestly, for me, it's this idea that the greater the contrasts we encounter, the greater our reality.
Right.
It's making me think about all the ways I try to avoid discomfort.
Yeah.
To smooth things over, to fit everything into neat little boxes.
Yeah.
What if those messy contradictions are actually where the real juice of life is?
That's a great observation.
Yeah.
It leads perfectly into our next chunk of Zos's thinking.
All right.
But we'll save that
Okay.
for part 2 of our deep dive.
Okay.
Stay tuned. All right, so let's pick up where we left off.
Okay.
Diving in to Zos's rather provocative emphasis on the physical world, which he calls flesh.
All right.
Now, remember how we talked about the importance of integrating our animal instincts?
Right.
This is where that idea gets really interesting.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
He's already challenged so many of my assumptions about the self and truth. So bring it on. What does he say about this flesh?
Hold on to your hat, because he boldly states, all ways to heaven lead to flesh.
Whoa. Okay. Unpack that for me.
Yeah.
Is he saying there's no spiritual realm?
Well,
no higher plane of existence?
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
I think what Zos is challenging is this idea that spirituality is somehow separate from the physical world.
Okay.
That it's about transcending the body.
Right.
Denying our senses.
Okay.
He's arguing that the physical world, our flesh,
yeah,
is actually the primary medium for connecting with reality.
Interesting.
For experiencing the divine.
Wow.
For even achieving self-realization.
So it's not about escaping the physical world.
Right.
But about finding the sacred within it.
Yeah, like those moments you really feel connected to something larger than yourself, maybe through nature, music, even physical intimacy.
Yeah.
Those are actually pathways.
Okay.
To a deeper understanding of reality.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, Zos is all about finding the extraordinary in the ordinary, the divine in the everyday.
Okay.
He even goes as far to say,
does he?
That mouth and hand are our only mediums.
Interesting.
For connecting with reality.
That makes me think about those folks who get really into cooking, gardening, even woodworking. Yeah. They're so engaged with those physical activities, and there's a real sense of joy, of connection that comes from it.
I think you're onto something.
Yeah.
It's about finding that sense of aliveness, that visual connection to the world through our bodies, our actions.
All right, so we've got to honor our animal instincts.
Okay.
And find the divine in the everyday, in our flesh.
Right.
Where does this all lead?
Right.
How does this connect to the bigger picture?
Well, remember how we talked about how Zos believes truth is subjective? That we're all creating our own versions of reality. Yeah. This emphasis on the physical world and action is crucial because it's how those subjective truths manifest, how they take shape in the world.
So it's not just about having beliefs or ideas.
Right.
It's about putting those beliefs into action.
Yes, about expressing them in the world through our mouth and hand, as he puts it.
Okay, that's starting to click.
Good.
And this is where Zos's concept of karma comes in.
Right.
He proposes that we shape our own destinies through our choices and actions, implying this whole system of cause and effect.
But it's not a fatalistic system.
Okay.
It's actually very empowering.
Right.
Because it means that we have the power to create the lives we want.
Right.
We're not just victims of fate.
But if we're all creating our own realities, wouldn't that lead to chaos? How do we make sure that we're creating a world that's not just personally fulfilling, but also, ethically sound?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And it's one that Zos grapples with throughout his work.
Right.
He doesn't offer a step-by-step guide
to
ethical self-creation.
Okay.
But he does provide some clues.
Okay. I'm all ears.
All right.
What are those clues?
Remember how Zos emphasizes the importance of desire.
Right.
He seems to suggest that it's not just about following any desire that pops into our heads.
Right.
But about discerning between those desires.
Okay.
They're driven by ego, by fear, or a need for control.
Right.
And those desires that are truly aligned with our values.
Yeah.
With our deepest sense of what's right and good.
So it's about being honest with ourselves, about what we truly want.
Right.
Not just what we think we should want.
Exactly.
Or what society tells us to want.
I think that's a key part of it. And then it's about acting on those desires.
Yeah.
But not with ulterior motives.
Right.
Or with the intention to harm others.
Right.
Zos seems to be suggesting that when we act from that place of integrity, when our actions are aligned with our deepest values, then we're creating a more positive, more ethical reality.
Right.
Both for ourselves and for the world around us.
That's a pretty tall order.
It is.
It makes me wonder if he ever felt like he fell short of his own ideals.
Right.
He's setting a high bar for all of us.
Well, he is a philosopher after all.
Right.
But let's not get too bogged down in judging Zos or ourselves.
Yeah.
The point is, he's offering us a framework for thinking about how our choices, our actions, our engagement with the world actually shape reality.
Yeah.
Not just on a personal level, but on a collective level as well.
Okay. I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
Yeah.
We've got to honor our animal instincts. Find the divine in the everyday world. Embrace those messy contradictions within ourselves.
Right.
Understand that truth is subjective.
Yes.
And then act on our deepest values. Using our mouth and hand to create a reality that reflects those values.
Exactly.
It's a lot to process.
You're doing great.
Okay.
And remember, we're exploring a philosophy here.
Right.
Not a recipe for life.
Okay.
There's room for interpretation, for questioning, for applying these ideas to your own unique experience.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
And speaking of applying these ideas, I'm curious about what Zos has to say about the limits of language.
Yeah.
He's obviously a master wordsmith,
Right.
but he also acknowledges that words can only take us so far. I'm wondering how that fits into his whole philosophy.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Zos spends a lot of time unpacking the limitations of language.
Right.
He even suggests that the soul has no language.
Wow.
Responding instead to pure emotion.
So while he uses language to express his ideas,
Right.
he also recognizes that there's a deeper level of understanding that happens beyond words.
Exactly. He's essentially using language to point beyond language, to gesture towards something that's ultimately ineffable.
Right.
Something that can only be experienced, not fully explained or grasped intellectually.
That makes me think about those moments.
Yeah.
When you try to describe a really profound experience, like falling in love or witnessing a beautiful sunset.
Yeah.
And you just can't find the words that truly capture the essence of what you felt.
And Zos seems to be suggesting that those moments, those experiences that defy language are actually the most important ones.
Okay.
They're the moments that connects us with something larger than ourselves, with the very core of our being.
Okay, so if words can only take us so far, how are we supposed to make sense of Zos's own writing, which is, as we've discussed, pretty dense and cryptic?
Well, that's part of the challenge.
Yeah.
And I think the beauty of engaging with Zos, he's not giving us easy answers.
Right.
He's inviting us to work, to feel our way through the meaning, to let the ideas resonate with us on an emotional level.
It's like he's saying, don't just read my words, experience them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let them evoke something within you.
Right.
And that brings us right to the heart of his perspective on art.
Yeah.
But we'll have to delve into that
and
much more in part 3 of our deep dive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, picking up where we left off, Zos' perspective on art.
Okay.
It's really intricately woven, I think, with everything we've been unpacking so far.
Remember how Zos talks about the limitations of language?
Right.
About those experiences that defy words.
Yeah.
He sees art as a way of bridging that gap.
Okay.
The language of the soul, so to speak.
That makes sense, especially given his emphasis on, like, emotion.
Right.
You know, those visceral experiences we have through our flesh, as he puts it.
Exactly.
So art becomes a way of expressing, like, those things that words can't quite capture.
Exactly. He believes that things more excellent than themselves are expressed through art.
Wow.
When ourselves are expressed in them.
Oh.
So it's not just about like technical skill.
Right.
Or about creating something, pleasing to the eye.
Right.
It's about using art as a vehicle.
Okay.
For expressing the depths of our being.
Yeah.
For communicating those profound experiences that words simply can't encompass.
So art is almost like a conduit for those unseen beauties he talks about.
Yeah, those moments of connection, of transcendence.
Right.
That we can't fully explain, but, we know when we felt them.
Right, exactly.
Those seems to suggest that art has this unique ability to make the invisible visible. To bring those intangible experiences into the realm of form and perception.
But he doesn't stop there, does he? He also introduces this concept of the idealized ugly.
Right.
And let's be honest, it's kind of jarring.
It is.
I mean, we're so conditioned to think of beauty as something pleasant, harmonious, maybe even symmetrical.
Yeah.
But Zos seems to be suggesting there's a different kind of beauty.
Right.
A beauty that's found in the unconventional.
Yes.
The unexpected, even the things that might initially repel us.
Right. And this is where Zos gets really radical.
Okay.
He's not just talking about aesthetics.
Right.
About what looks good on a canvas.
Right.
He's actually challenging us to expand our definition of beauty. To see the beauty in those aspects of ourselves and the world that we might normally try to, avoid or deny.
It makes me think about how some of the most powerful art is the art that makes us uncomfortable.
Yes.
That challenges our assumptions.
Right.
That forces us to confront those darker aspects of reality that we might prefer to ignore.
Exactly. And I think this idea of the idealized ugly ties directly back to his emphasis on embracing the totality of our being.
Right.
Including those parts of ourselves that we might deem as flawed, messy, even ugly by conventional standards.
Yeah.
Zos seems to suggest that it's in those parts, in the shadows, that we often find the most depth, the most creativity, the most raw authenticity.
So maybe it's about recognizing that true beauty isn't about perfection, but about wholeness.
Yes.
About integrating those parts of ourselves that we might normally try to hide or deny.
That's a powerful insight. And I think it's a key to understanding Zos' call for a new grand style in art.
Okay.
He's not just looking for technical skill
Right.
or pleasing aesthetics.
Yeah.
He's looking for art that reflects the full spectrum of human experience.
Right.
The light and the dark, the beautiful and the ugly, the sublime and the grotesque.
It's like he's challenging artists to be more honest, more courageous.
Yes.
To delve into those deeper, more uncomfortable truths about themselves and the world, and to express those truths through their art.
And that kind of art, the art that's willing to go there, to push the boundaries, to make us think and feel in new ways, that's the art that has the power to transform both the artist and the viewer.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground with Zos. His emphasis on the physical world, the limitations of language, the power of art, the subjectivity of truth.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that stands out to you from his work?
There is one more crucial aspect of Zos' thought that I think ties everything together, and that's his emphasis on the role of the artist in society.
Okay, tell me more. I'm intrigued. What does Zos believe artists should be doing in the world?
Well, he doesn't see artists as simply creators of pretty things.
Right.
Or entertainers. He sees them as crucial figures, almost like shamans or prophets, who can illumine unseen beauties and awaken us to a deeper understanding of reality.
So art has this almost social, even spiritual function.
Right.
It's not just about individual expression, but about contributing to the collective good in some way.
That's a great way to put it. Zos believes that art has the power to transform our perceptions.
Okay.
To challenge the status quo, to make us question our assumptions.
Yeah.
And ultimately to create a more just, more beautiful, more meaningful world.
It makes me think about artists who use their work to raise awareness about social issues.
Yeah.
To challenge injustice.
Right.
To inspire change.
Exactly.
Their art isn't just about aesthetics, it's about making a difference in the world.
Exactly. And that's the kind of art that Zos seems to be calling for.
Right.
He's challenging artists to use their creative power wisely to create work that's not just personally fulfilling, but also ethically sound.
Right.
Work that contributes to the well-being of others.
It's a pretty big responsibility, but also an incredibly exciting challenge.
It is.
It makes me want to go out and create something, even if I'm not a professional artist.
I think that's the point.
Yeah.
Zos' philosophy is not just for artists or philosophers.
Yeah, right.
It's for anyone who wants to engage with the world in a more conscious, more creative, more meaningful way.
That's a great note to end on. This deep dive into Zos has been so thought-provoking, so challenging, and honestly a bit mind-bending.
Yeah.
But I think that's the beauty of it.
It is.
He's not giving us easy answers. He's inviting us to question, to explore, to create our own meaning.
And that's a journey that's worth taking, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. So to all our listeners out there, keep questioning, keep creating, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. The journey of self-discovery, as Zos reminds us, is a lifelong adventure.